So I don't have enough. I don't have enough to get through the last. So yeah.
Right. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Monterey Salinas Transit District Board of Directors meeting. Today is Monday, October the 14th. And Jeanette, if you would call roll, please.
City of Carmel by the Sea.
Here.
City of Greenfield. Absent. City of King.
Present.
City of Marina.
Here.
City of Monterey.
Present.
City of Pacific Road.
Here.
City of Sand City. City of Salinas.
We are here.
City of Seaside.
Here.
City of Soledad. County of Monterey.
Present.
Very good, thank you. Okay, would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and may I have Director Sterling, please, to lead us in the pledge?
Director Shirley.
Or Shirley. Oh, I'm sorry, I said Sterling.
Who is that?
Shirley.
I heard that.
Shirley.
Please join me. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right.
Shirley, we must be
Shirley,
mistaken.
I know, I said Shirley. I said Sterling. I do, I can call you. Yeah, there you go.
Respond.
All right. Okay, and now I'd like to review the highlights of the agenda, Carl, if we could do that first.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I was just responding, I just got notice in that today. On today's agenda, while in just a second. Find this. I am. Can I borrow your agenda?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. I was reading something. Okay, great. On the consent agenda, among the usual items, we have for your board to consider a fair. Let's see. I'm sorry. It is
one of those Mondays.
It is, well, the committee meeting went great.
Yeah.
Can someone hand me an agenda real quickly, because I'm not finding it here. Thank you. Apologies. Thank you. Yeah, this has it. Thank you very much. On the consent agenda, we have among the normal recognition and financial reports, we're asking your board to consider the purchase of 9 battery electric bus chargers from ChargePoint. And there's also an update on a partnership between MST, Visa, and the Monterey County Gives program that you may find of interest. On action items, we have some updates to our transit fare policy and special promotional free fare days, including Election Day this coming year, next month. And then you have the approval of an incentive pool item that was previously discussed by your board last month, an incentive pool for Monterey Salinas Transit Employee Association and confidential unit members, excluding me, the general manager. That concludes my review of the agenda. Oh, in addition, there's going to be a presentation on cybersecurity, this being Cybersecurity Month. For those of you keeping score, there's officially a month for everything now. It is Cybersecurity Month. Thank you. I'm gonna get my agenda.
Oh, and I had it right.
On my computer here, shut down during the break.
All right, thank you, Carl. Okay, moving on, public comments on matters not on the agenda. Members of the public may address the board on any matter related to the jurisdiction of MST, but not on the agenda. There's a time limit of no more than 3 minutes for each speaker. The public is encouraged to engage in respectful dialogue that supports freedom of speech and values diversity of opinion. Failure to engage in respectful dialogue will result in speakers being muted, respond immediately to any public comment presented, but may choose to follow up at a later time, either individually through anyone from the public that would like to make a public comment. not on the agenda.
Well, hello, Emily Paz. I live in Salinas. I just wanted to make just a few comments. I use rides a lot, and I just wanted to say the drivers that they have, very nice, very professional, personable. Never had an issue with them, and I just thought that I don't know if you guys know, but I mean they're wonderful. They're really wonderful. The other thing I wanted to just mention very quickly, I was unaware that MV Transportation is the one that really handles all the phones. I didn't know that when I was doing my research, and I understand that it could be internet issue, but as I had mentioned to people here that I have problems getting through, sometimes over an hour, and I still can't get through. And what's happened is that once again, I had to reschedule my doctor's appointment because, they don't do same day reservations. And that gets really annoying because it's been like 3 times already for me. And with the doctors being so busy, sometimes you can't see them for another month or 2 months. You can't get in sooner than that. So I'm hoping that I figured with their contract, there must be some basic level of service they have to provide. And as I mentioned last month, they need people to answer the phones so that the seniors don't have problems trying to get through. And that was it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hello, Helen Shamble from over in East Garrison, and I had the maximum number of minutes ready to go. But looking at your agenda, Cybersecurity Month, that sounds fun. I'm just going to say East Garrison is here. We're looking forward to following up with MST board and staff on that little puzzle of provide and or fund transit service over in East Garrison. And so thank you very much for all the hard work you do, and we look forward to working with you more in the future.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the conference room that would like to make a public comment that is not on the agenda?
We have we have 2 hands raised online, Christopher Wilmot and
Shannon.
Shannon.
Okay, let's start with Christopher Wilmot. Would you please unmute yourself?
Yes, hello. First off, I like to say about the 7-1 vote on the coastal commissions side of the meeting. I think it was a good meeting. I was glad I could be there to support. And I was thinking about a name for the new busway, that's going to be constructed soon. Can we name it Wilmot Memorial Parkway in support in memory of my father Gary Wilmot of Marina? Yes? No?
We're unable to make comment on public matters not on the agenda, but we have your comments will be noted in the minutes.
Okay, thank you. Because I was just kind of thinking about wait, can we name a bus sort? That's what I was thinking, basically. So yeah.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Wilmot.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You. All right, moving on to Shannon, if you would unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi, my name is Shannon. I'm a homeowner in East Garrison, and I just have a couple questions for you. One is that in your July 7th MST board packaway purchase monthly bus passes and distribute to any resident interested in commuting by bus. I was wondering if you would please provide a cost estimate for your proposal or a maximum cost cap. Secondly, in looking at your page 37 of your 2024-25 budget, it looks like approximately 96% of your funding is state funds, federal funds, and sales tax. Based on this, it seems that East Garrison residents, including homeowners, already pay the taxes that fund the MST. I was wondering if you could confirm that's your understanding as well, and if so, why should East Garrison homeowners pay twice for transit? If you could please comment on that. I know you can't do it right now, but at some point in the future soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. We will have someone follow up on that.
We can.
Okay, very good. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment at this time? Looks like we have none. So I will now close public comment at this time and move on to the consent agenda. Do any of our directors have anything that they would have a question about that they would like to discuss on the consent agenda? Is there anyone? Doesn't look like there's anyone at this time. All right. Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment on the consent agenda? Items number 3.1 through 3.7. Seeing none at this time.
Second.
All right, we have a first by Director Alejo and a second by Director Smith. All those in favor for approval signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? None. Motion carries. All right, moving on to public hearings. We have no public hearings. Moving on to the next item, which is an action item. Number 5.1, approve special promotional free fair days, including Election Day in November and Senior Day in May. And to do this report, we have Akuyo.
Good morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Vice Chair, directors, staff, members of the public, my name is Ikuyo Yoneda Lopez, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here. Today, I'm seeking your approval on the staff recommendation to approve the updated MST transit fare policy and to establish special promotional fair days, including Election Day in November and the Senior Transit Day. The existing transit fare policy hasn't been updated since the Better Bus Network, which is in December of 2022, but the policy itself was approved in July of 2022. In order to stay fair and reflect the current economic state of the community, staff is recommending that we increase the amount of the Commute with Enterprise van pool program by $50 to $500 a month per vehicle, as well as approve the Senior Transit Day and Election Day free fares. So in previous years, we've approved, provided the free fare days. I think it's just removing another possible barrier to people getting out and voting on Election Day. And we want as many people out there as possible voting. So getting to the polling locations, this barrier can be removed and encourage our community to vote. And as far as the van pool increase in subsidy, we want to remove another vehicle off the road. And this it's $50 a month per vehicle. This could get people to switch over from driving their single occupancy vehicle and on the congested roads and getting a group together of 4 or more and qualifying for a van pool subsidy. So with that, I look for your recommendation to approve the recommendation, and I'm open to any questions.
All right, very good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Directors, do I have any questions regarding this matter? Okay,
Usually do free fair day for Rosa Parks Day. Is that not being done this year?
Free fair day for,
Rosa Parks Day?
we did not include that this year, but if your board chooses to
Just asking.
adopt that, yeah.
And I still didn't catch the day.
Rosa Parks Day.
Rosa Parks Day, okay.
So there are 2 Rosa Parks Day. There's one that celebrates her birth, one that celebrates her passing in our industry. And sometimes we get confused about which one we want to recognize. We've recognized it through social media posts and other posts, but
And we do save a seat for her in the front of the bus.
we reserve a seat at the front of the bus. But we
honor her.
have not recently had the free fare promotion. Much of it is, some of it is due to, I can, in my general manager CEO's report and in the operations committee meeting, we discussed some of the overcrowding issues that we're currently having on board our buses and ridership promotions. Unduly might exacerbate that issue where we're having to leave people behind now because of too many people needing the service. So, but we can certainly, if it's the desire of this board to open up that, we can, I don't have strong feelings about it. Just put it that way.
I would definitely support that.
mhm.
Yeah. Something you started already, Carl.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so you would like staff to consider or to staff to implement. So what I'm hearing is a potential modification to what's been presented as a fair policy to include Rosa Parks Day as a free fair day in addition to the senior day and the election day.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anna,
Yeah, and I would recommend that if we can just make a modification, if I would like to include it as well, but I think I would like to have information first on the 2 days that we have for the senior day and the election day, on how many. Do we track like how many people utilize it on the general budget, right? So it's part of the budget. So it's 42,000. So if we add another day, then is that another 24,000 on the budget? And so just before we go on, I just want to make sure we have the budget numbers.
So-
before we say yes.
Yeah, I have some numbers for the senior transit day. That number is very small. It's only for the senior shuttle lines. And so that number actually is,
I think it's in here.
it's a few hundred, actually. The remainder is based on previous years on election day numbers. And so that's the chunk, the larger chunk of the budget. So adding another day for Rosa Parks Day, it's system-wide and not just senior shuttles. And so I think that would be the larger number. So likely closer to the
24.
2024, yeah.
The 24. Yeah, so if we can get, I mean, I think if we get the numbers, so that way we can have the numbers to come back and look at those. I mean, that's my recommendation. Obviously, I'm not saying not to, but to have some more.
The senior shuttle line funding is coming from Measure Q, and the election day is from general fund.
From general fund.
And Rosa Parks Day would be general fund
General
as
fund
well.
Okay, just so we have the different, and going back on this one, I think it's also, when we do this, I also think it's important to look at the outreach and marketing that we're gonna do along with this. And I think because it's, especially if we're doing for the senior day, I think it's really important for all of our communities as well as election day and how we're gonna market it. And if we can really go out to do a request for all of our cities that are part of the board to ensure that they're also doing an outreach on their social media platforms or other mechanisms that the city does as well. So that way it's not only MST, and I think I've said this before, but and these system-wide kind of marketing processes that we do, that we're also targeting our local seniors to make sure that they're capitalizing on this and that they also know that these services are available to them.
Definitely, we're happy to partner and, share the message across all our service area.
And I think what helps, if you have already the little Facebook or whatever, yeah, the graphics, it's easier just to send it to everyone and then we can send it out to our individual.
We can create that.
Marketing individuals.
Right. Okay. I would like to see the data first about Rosa Parks Day. I also support it, but I think today we're focusing on the senior day and the election. So I would like to stick with those two items if possible, but I'm open to whatever.
Number,
Yeah.
I recall.
Yeah, there's two. There's
There's-
one, her birthday, and then the day that she refused to give up her seat. One's in December, one's in February.
Oh, there you
Okay,
go.
so we have time.
Mhm.
And to provide you with that, and we can take a look at our provide you what our current status of our treasury, which is in your packet today, but we'll come back with direction to bring this back next month.
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm just curious, whenever it's possible, Mr. Sador just mentioned, we're leaving people behind, I guess, there's no room in the bus or something.
Yeah, I can cover that. I spoke to this in the
Yes.
Board Operations Committee meeting, and I can speak to it again on item 7.1.
Mhm.
There have been some posts about tremendous growth in ridership and some safety concerns along Highway 101 that I can get into a little more detail later in the meeting,
Yeah, good.
which
Thank
at
you.
the pace we're going should be in about 10 minutes.
I like to run a tight ship, everybody. Okay, yes.
Yeah, can I slow this down?
Sure,
I think,
of course.
I'm aware that the seat is being reserved on Rosa Parks Day.
Yes,
I
the
think
front
it's
seat is
very-
always reserved with her photo and just blocked, so no one can
Right,
sit there.
maybe a QR code to explain or.
Yes, no one.
Very good. Thank you.
Agreed. Yes, sir.
I just had a question from, of Luis Alejo. Were you intending it to be on the day that she refused to sit or on her anniversary of her death date? Which one do we think is the most meaningful for us to?
I
place?
thought it was the December date because that was the date She refused. to,
Exactly.
But
Was December?
yes, December, I think it's December first.
And I think that's the first one we did,
Yeah.
which way to follow. And so we just kind of pulled back.
So, and I would ask that maybe we could clarify that in the future staff report as it comes back, so we know. And then also, we gotta get on this if we want to market anything. The other cities are gonna do it, so I think it's important to know the difference, anniversary date of one's death is just to take that back seat, and I think that's the day we should focus on.
I agree. Yes.
And
Director
I
Lamar.
was gonna ask something very similar, but so given that our next board meeting in November would only leave really a 2-week window to promote it.
Yeah.
To get it into the cities. Look, I think we should just go ahead and move and add it today's.
Okay.
The difference on the budget, I know we're all very, very aware of it. But having more promotional time to get it into the city's hands for. Because if it gets to the city, it could take a week before it gets onto their Facebook. And then we lose that promotional opportunity. Because it really is about reminding a lot of the younger generation who may not even heard of her and that experience. So I think we should look at that.
So I'm sorry.
Go
So
ahead.
What are we doing the same thing? We're already in November. Are we in October now?
We're October
We're in
now.
October now. We're approving the senior day, isn't that,
It's in May.
May.
oh, in May?
Mhm.
And in November, the elections
Yep.
are next month. I mean,
Well,
so we were,
I understand. It's a
It's
general
different.
consensus, I think, at this point.
Stuttering, Carl.
Well, I was just gonna
Okay.
say, I hear where you're all going, and I understand that.
Get out the bus.
I understand the pressure on the budget. If you look at our budget, we're pretty healthy right now.
All right.
I'm not. But I would say that MST will come back and provide you with data on what the delta was. Did this really improve ridership, increase ridership as a result of it? So if there's a desire to move forward now, I think the budget can absorb it. If there's a desire to hold off and have us bring you more information in November, we can provide that to you too, but I
I know.
it's not a budget. It's I don't think it's a significant budget concern for us if your board decides that this is what you want to do and if you want to take action today. I don't let the $24,000 scare you off.
Yeah.
So move them.
And so I would second.
Okay, hold on. Okay, do you have a question?
Yeah, I
Joe?
have a question.
Okay,
I'm all for this also, but since it's not on the agenda, can the agenda be adjusted, Mr. Laredo?
So this is updating a fair policy, and that is what the discussion is updating a fair policy, so it does fall within the discussion fountain.
okay.
And your motion was to add the date,
Yes.
and the date of December to clarify.
December 1st.
December
I
1st.
believe it's December.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It's December 1st.
Okay,
I would just remind you that you do have to use public comment before.
exactly. I know. Are there any other questions from the directors before I open this up to public comment? No. Okay, I'm going to now open up public comment on this item. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this? Okay, I have someone. There's a.
Sorry, I should never invite the people from East Garrison to a meeting. No. I would say, speaking for a whole bunch of people that I'm going to tell about this, it is a fantastic idea. Thank you very much for doing something like this, and $24,000, we're already paying our taxes. I think this is a great thing for it to go to.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comments in the boardroom? Anyone on Zoom that would like to discuss this? Doesn't look like we have anyone, so I'm going to now close public comment. And I would like to refresh everyone on the motion that we have at hand, which is approve updated MST transit fare policy and establish special promotion free days, including Election Day in November, Senior Day in May, and Rosa Parks Day on December. Director Alejo, Smith. Okay.
Oh,
Smith?
I'll take
Smith.
it.
Smith?
Or Sterling, either one.
Smith. Okay, for Alejo, okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes.
Vice Chair, sorry. Can I just one comment?
Okay.
I think since we are voting on this early and it passed, I think it'd be great if you could just send a message out to schools. I think this would be a great opportunity for public school kids to try and use the bus and, you know, have that be part of the sort of the history lesson. So another great avenue.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 5.2. Approve MST. Thank you, Ikuyo. Sorry, I forgot to say that. Approve MST 3.0% FYI 2024 incentive pay pool for eligible Monterey Salinas Transit Employee Association and confidential unit employees, excluding general manager, CEO. Staff report. Do I have one?
You,
57, page 57.
yeah, your staff report is there. This is
Yeah.
part of an ongoing discussion your board
talking
has
about
had
this.
over the past couple months in closed session.
Right.
And this recommendation was, the consensus was from your board to bring this back for your approval in open session as required under the Brown Act.
All right, very good. Do I have any questions or comments from the directors? Seeing none, I would like to now open this up to public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to discuss this? Seeing no one in the boardroom, seeing no one on Zoom. Okay, I will now close public comment and entertain a motion on this. Okay, okay. A motion by Director Barrera and seconded by Emilio. All right, very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving on to the fun part. Recognitions and special presentations. 6-1, October 2024 Employee of the Month, Ramon Cardona, coach operator, and I'd like to have Marzette come up, Marzette Henderson.
Thank you. Good morning, Vice Chair. Good morning, Board. Marzette Henderson here, Transportation Manager with MST. It's an honor for me today to recognize MST's Employee of the Month for October 2024, Coach Operator Ramon Cardona. Since beginning his career with MST in February 2006, Coach Operator Cardona is known by customers, peers, and our supervisors for his outstanding performance and reliability. He's known for being humble, team player, reliable, and has been recognized for safety and his attendance over the years. We generally don't hear much about Ramon because he tends to fly under the radar, and he was on our list to be recognized as one of our silent heroes. But recently, a fellow coach operator submitted a note of appreciation for, in one particular instance, assisting the coach operator by stepping in to assist with a difficult passenger. Operator Cardona was calm, professional in a stressful situation, and he kept the interaction from potentially escalating into a full-blown passenger disturbance. His fellow coach operator wanted to express gratitude for Ramon for being reliable and a team player. So we're proud to recognize Coach Operator Ramon Cardona for his professionalism, excellent customer service skills, outstanding contributions, and we congratulate him for his ongoing dedication to MST and to the community we serve for Employee of the Month of 2024. Unfortunately, well, he does our latest run out of Salinas, so he's not available to attend today.
He's still sleeping.
But he wanted to, he did express gratitude and apologize for not being able to make it today.
It's okay. Thank you, Marzette.
Thank you.
And thank you to Ramon for his professionalism and helping out when needed. As usual, our coach operators are fantastic. All right. Moving on to item number 6.2, receive cybersecurity presentation. And we have Michael here. No, Michael Coleman. Here we go.
Good morning, everybody,
Good
board and the public. Yep, Scott's got our first slide up. So let's move on to the second slide real quick, Scott. Next slide. Thank you.
Michael, could you introduce yourself?
My name is Michael Coleman. I am the Chief Information Officer of Monterey Salinas Transit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate that. Ironically, being in the information security officer role as well, we usually like to stay under the radar and not be noticed by people. So I get used to not mentioning my name. So at Carl's request and the general manager, as he pointed out, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And since coming on board as the Chief Information Officer of Monterey Salinas Transit, we really haven't done a presentation to the board and public on cybersecurity. So it seemed like an opportune moment to do that. With that said, and with the disclosure notice that we have and we're sharing with the public, one of the challenges of doing a cybersecurity presentation is that we're not particularly a group that like to share what we're doing to protect our systems. Yeah. So given that this is a fairly high-level presentation, we'll probably keep it out of detail. However, for the board's discretion, if they would like, we could discuss detailed questions. You have that during the executive session today. So
Closed session.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. So proceeding, next slide, Scott. So as you're looking at the situation, as we come into 2024, global security continues to be a story where most of the attackers and the agencies are coming from well-funded criminal organizations. They tend to be overseas. They don't tend to be in the United States. You find them in countries like China, Russia, some of the Russian republics. They are separate, but very closely affiliated with foreign governments. They tend to be supported. They tend to be given for what I want to call shelter, an umbrella to be able to operate. But most of them are for-profit ventures that are interested in making money. And in general, if you look at the goals of what these organizations have, especially when they're focusing on public agencies, it really does tend to be money is their primary method of goal. So you tend to see ransomware, you tend to see attacks, you tend to see break-ins to the system, honestly, so they can collect funding. And to be perfectly honest, they're collecting lots of funding. It does tend to be in the millions, if not tens of millions of dollars. Secondarily, when they're focusing on public transportation agencies or public agencies in general, honestly, it's also it's about disrupting the infrastructure. The reality is that they know a system like this. If they can do anything that basically interrupts our services or causes us problems, that creates an anger and distrust of our public services, and it causes people to be less confident in what we can do. So there is definitely a secondary piece to this that focuses on that is largely trying to build that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which we call FUD in the IT industry. Next slide, please. With that, the local impacts, even though these are global, we have seen a lot of local impact in the state of California in our areas here in the last 2 years. Just ones that I can think of without naming them specifically. We've had at least 2 higher education institutions in the area that were dramatically impacted here in the last 2 years. We've seen law enforcement agencies that were impacted. We've seen the local court systems in the areas that have been hit. Public utilities have been hit. And in all honesty, we have absolutely seen public transportation agencies in the state of California that have been compromised and hit in the last year. Next slide, please. How are these agencies being compromised? Really, honestly, in about 65 to 70% of the cases, it's still a very simple compromise. In all honesty, in most cases, what's happening is somebody is sending a phishing email to a staff member in an organization. They are sending a web link to a staff member. Usually it contains into going onto a site that is not ours, where it asks basically for a username and password, and an employee is giving that information up. It seems like a very simple process, but the real still a highly successful process, and it's working. Secondarily, and running close behind it, probably at about 30 to 40%, is basically systems that are not kept current. They're not patched, they're not updated, vulnerabilities are not plugged on systems. Your basic computer that you're using as a staff member in an organization isn't getting its updates and its patches promptly. Somebody finds a hole in those, and honestly, typically, even with a day or two of once that disclosure is published, it's being exploited. Everything else usually falls honestly under about the 10 to 15% range. Most of the other compromises tend to be very small. Next slide, please. So knowing these things, what has the MST staff been doing over the last couple of years to probably harden our systems and prepare us and take us in that direction? Honestly, certainly over the next 2 years or so, we've been moving towards what's called a SecOps strategy. We love our acronyms. That basically stands for security and operations and integrating it holistically, where you're actually going hand in hand and joining those two pieces together. Moving forward on down the road, eventually would like to integrate that into what's called DevSecOps, where our development work becomes integrated into those two pieces as well. We outsource a lot of our development at MST today, so that final piece of integrating development becomes more of a challenge, but it is a long-term goal. Bringing critical cybersecurity monitoring functions in-house. A lot of agencies, and especially a lot of small public agencies, tend not to develop the staff. They don't tend to develop the internal resources basically to monitor what's going on in their systems. Typically, that tends to be outsourced. That's not a bad practice, but the answer I'm going to give you based on experience over the years is that it just simply, you get better responses by training and heightening awareness of your internal IT staff and having them in a position where they are actually monitoring that activity as part of their day-to-day operations. Establishing communications with critical support agencies. In the last 2 years, Monterey Salinas Transit has become an active member of the multi-state information sharing security agency. That agency is closely joined with CISA and the federal government. That is the arm that tends to work with local and state agencies. We are a contributing member to that. We do attend their conferences. We do go, we work with them. We have reached out. We do know our FBI agents in our local offices. We have talked to them. And we also basically keep contact with the Federal Cybersecurity Agency as well. In addition to that, we're basically moving to adopting the National Institute of Standards resolving around cybersecurity. Probably number one is moving towards NIST standards and what I call identity management. If we go back to a slide you saw earlier, giving away our identity is still the number one way that people get compromised. NIST has a number of recommendations that have been placed for a number of years now that basically make it a lot harder for somebody to do that, and we are gradually moving in that direction. We are also moving towards NIST standards for patch management. The faster we can patch our systems, the more frequently we can patch our systems, the better protected we are when a vulnerability is discovered. We are also coming back to basically having more resources and more smarts in-house. We're improving our training for staff. We're conducting more and better testing attack simulations, as many of our staff found out this week. We are migrating to passwordless authentication technologies. That's a big one, and that'll be going on this year. It has been going on this year. It'll be going on next year and possibly the year after. The long-term goal recognized by NIST is that actually eliminating the knowledge of somebody's password and credentials for getting into a system altogether, which is called passwordless technology, ultimately is going to be one of the major defenses in our organization. We are already testing passwordless technology with several of our staff internally. What that means is a staff member here in the organization actually doesn't know what their credentials are to get into the system. It's a 256 character long digit. It is rotated on a regular basis randomly. What happens is that an employee in a critical position basically would get in and they would have a PIN password that they could use to get to a computer they've been authorized to, or if they're home or traveling, they will actually have a token or a key they will need to use to get on a system. Between those two things, that's something that cannot be disclosed to a hacker or given away. I expect to see most rollout of that in critical systems probably in the next 12 to 18 months. We also are going to be adopting better and more aggressive policies towards technology vendors. The reality is a lot of public service vendors are not in a space where they're practicing good cybersecurity at this point. It's a shame, but it's true. And like a lot of agencies, we have systems that basically vary in age and legacy systems. One of the things that we simply have to adopt as an agency is when we're seeing vendors that are basically aren't holding up their end of the bargain, we're going to have to get more aggressive with those vendors and making sure that they're staying compliant. Next slide. So what have we done up until this point to get there? The big one, and that happened last year towards the holidays, Every single employee in this organization, including our drivers, mechanics, and everybody else, now have an identity on MST. While, that seems okay on the surface, without being able to manage that identity from a cybersecurity point, it creates challenges for the IT department, our agency, to manage that. By creating identities for all of our employees, we now basically have, management of that system. We can now monitor compromises in that system. All of our accounts have now been moved to multi-factor. So we are doing two-factor authentication with all of our employees at this point, which means, again, even our drivers and that basically have an authentication app that's installed on a phone or through third-party services. They don't want to use their phone. And the reality is that they're connecting it externally from our building or they're connecting from that breaks a lot of potential compromise issues all by itself. Our patch management is also being in the process of being moved in-house. Up until now, most of our patch management was managed by a third-party service. It worked and it worked well, but again, we can do better, we can do faster, and we can keep closer management of it if we're bringing it in. So we've been training staff, we've been looking at systems, and we're basically doing that ourselves. With that, that also meant we had to hire additional staff to increase the FTEs or the full times we could devote to cybersecurity. This year, he was our employee of the month last month, if people remember that. He comes from the military. He had a military background. In addition with the staff that we already had on hand, who just a terrific IT staff, by the way, those additional hours meant that we actually have more time to focus on these things, and that's very necessary. We're adding geofencing. It doesn't sound like a neat thing. It doesn't sound like a luxurious thing, but it's actually, again, kind of important. Pointed out earlier in the presentation, most of the bad actors are coming from overseas. Very few of them are coming from the United States. They're coming from overseas. We tend to reject those connections first and ask questions later. So if somebody's from, Middle East or any other location, it would not typically be a user that would be looking to get, bus information for request. If we get a request from, a staff member employee needs to see them, we can whitelist them and add them. But it is moving to a world of not trusting, or what they call least user privilege. We are training.
Lisa experienced this when she was visiting Iceland and needed to get in to the system.
Yes, and for those that have run into it, we are asking staff now to request that when they travel overseas to let us know. We are also adding training and attack simulations that have been providing our training and our attack simulations for until about February of this year. It was good. It worked. It certainly did. One of the challenges with that system is that we couldn't tailor it to our specific needs here internally. We couldn't really look at the things and the patterns that we were seeing with our staff. And because of that, we couldn't adjust it and basically make it more targeted so people had a better opportunity to learn the things that actually impact our agency. Beginning February, we brought that system in-house. We're basically using a Hollywood-style training video system. They're all animated videos. They actually use a mess of Hollywood B-list actors. They're kind of fun to watch, and there's nothing wrong with making them fun to watch. And our attack simulations basically have been increased to a monthly basis from typically 2 to 3 times a year. And those attacks are becoming very focused on what we do in our organization. The term is actually called spear phishing. So we're actually seeing attacks and emails that are directed to our staff, not to annoy our staff or tick them off, but they actually simulate things that our staff would see typically in the course of their real day, so that they actually see examples of somebody who was actually deliberately targeting our agency, what that would look like and what they need to look out for. All of that has been very successful. We've actually seen more reporting from staff going to the IT department. We've seen a higher paranoia level for what it's worth. We're seeing a higher caution level when things are going on, and I'm seeing that evidenced in the fact that we do get notified on things that people probably shouldn't be doing. That does allow IT to respond. As mentioned earlier, MST is all now a participating member of MSISEC, that we're keeping communication up and we know what's going on out there. We also share information with them when we see things that are suspicious to us. Next slide, please. So accomplishments that are in alignment with that approach. As I mentioned, and we'll go through this slide pretty quick, we have a whole new cybersecurity training system. That cybersecurity training system is more targeted. It provides me with more information. It shows me more detail. It's been running for approximately 10 months now. As we get to the point where we're running into the full year, I'm actually going to be able to use that data and provide some artificial intelligence to apply to it to begin to look for patterns on things that we may be missing or we might be vulnerable with. So that product will actually develop and grow with it, of doing sort of a shotgun approach to how we're handling cybersecurity in an organization. We'll begin to get more focused on things where we actually could learn more. Next slide. Last but not least, in September of 2024, we actually conducted our first cybersecurity tabletop exercise. Credit where credit is due. Carl very much was the person who pushed on this. I was very happy to do it, but to be fair, with all the things that we've been trying to do in cybersecurity the last 2 years, I kept putting them off. We did that. We actually spent very close to 2/3 of a day over at our TDA Operations Center on that day. We took this entire agency through a simulated failure that would have occurred from a ransomware event that actually took out all of our technology systems, brought everything down. And we did have the Emergency Operations Center team go through all of that and get an understanding of how it would impact this organization if we had the loss of those critical technology services, and how could we continue operating and serving the public first and foremost if those systems got down. Plus, it was a great gain to learning experience, and it provided the IT department with a tremendous amount of knowledge about which systems should we honestly be focusing on bringing up first? Which systems should we be focusing on probably providing a better level of backup? Because after seeing that simulation, we saw things that I identified that we realized that this particular system probably needed to be, hardened or saved or brought up before maybe this particular system, and it gave us the luxury of knowing that. We probably will be seeing more cybersecurity tabletops, on a somewhat irregular basis going forward. We probably will adjust systems and backups as a result. And next slide, and that should be it. So, any questions by the board? Any questions by the public?
I actually have one.
Yes, please.
Or two.
Please.
How often do you plan to run some of these simulations for staff? I mean, is this going to be an ongoing thing and they'll never know?
The training is monthly at this point. So everybody is actually getting a monthly training video. I would say that once we get through our full year, it probably will be between 12 to 14 times a year. If I have a video that's targeted towards, say, something that's happening actively now, we may roll that out. The phishing simulations, the honest answer, I will be a little vague on the phishing simulations. With that said, we've actually increased them from about 4 times a year to probably between 12 and 16. So folks are getting these every few weeks typically right now. And they tend to be designed either to what I would call an active event, where I'm seeing things going on and realize that, I'll give an example, hurricane, or where you see a DocuSign event that occurred where somebody got compromised, right? We tend to align those with that piece so that it brings up awareness on what's going on, sort of what I call in the cyberspace at that moment. But they're very frequent, and they're probably going to remain so.
Okay. My other question is related to the phones for our staff, like for example, the coach operators.
Yes.
They use their own personal phones?
They do.
Okay. And I just wondered, I always am concerned about those kinds of things happening.
It is a genuine concern, and it's something that certainly, I've worked in multiple agencies, and I think that concern comes up probably in every agency. For what it's worth, as a policy, we don't require that they use that method. We provide the ability there, and it's optional, right? There are other methods. We could do a second factor authentication if somebody wanted to use it, admittedly somewhat less convenient, but they exist. The application that we're actually installing on our phones right now, which again, I don't want to disclose the exact application.
No.
It is an isolated application that basically isn't taking any personal information off that end user's phone. It isn't providing any data from that phone that is personal and to our authentication provider on the back end. And all it really does is that when somebody is prompted for a username and password, a number is being sent to that particular application that is letting that user know, here is the second number that you have, and you need to confirm this. The number disappears once it's put in the system.
I am like tech idiot, and I'm so concerned about all of this stuff.
And I know it's probably not much consolation. I've probably been in cybersecurity functions for 25 plus years at this point, and I guarantee you my day is a day of paranoia.
Okay, any other questions, Anna?
Yeah, thank you for all this information.
Yeah.
I know that we tend not to think about it. I know with our organization, with the city, I know we've gone to the two-process authentication as well, so.
It's a big forward step for many
Yeah,
people.
it is, and it's been a little challenging just to get used to it, but, but it has, and I know for us doing the in-house technology or tech service also. So I'm glad we're doing that, but I guess just some of the questions in terms of more of the budget perspective and moving forward, as we now have more of those functions in-house and we're able to do that, and I know response wise is best because you can, do a lot of troubleshooting more rapidly, but just in terms of projections, especially moving forward for budget, projections constant.
Monitoring and I won't deny there is a budget aspect. Yeah.
Upgrades and so just, as we move forward, and I'm sure that it's coming in the budget process, but just to be vigilant about that as we move forward, staff, you mentioned that there was staffing increases. So what was the staffing levels before? What is the staffing now? What do you project for that? Do you project for that to continue to increase and some of the ongoing maintenance requirements to having this kind of system in-house?
Yeah, generally the goal usually when I've approached this and I've come into organizations is honestly, I try to be as revenue neutral as possible. So in a lot of cases, this is what I would call a shifting of where funding is going on. One of the things that tends to occur in the cybersecurity space or even in the IT space that I think is probably not well understood is that smaller agencies like ours and many smaller government agencies, they tend to lean on outsourcing the services because the fact is it requires a lot of proactivity to develop in-house talent. With that said, engaging with a for-profit third-party service to provide, those kind of services is almost always slightly more expensive than well-developed in-house talent. So there is a bit of a bell curve that's probably been involved here over the last couple of years that as, we added one additional person into our system administrator staff. With that said, they're not full-time cybersecurity. That staff position was added because there was a recognized need that IT was doing a whole lot more on the back end space, and we actually needed more system administrator support. Philosophically, I think what I would tell the board and what I would tell the public is, I mentioned earlier the phrase SecOps or DevSecOps. There is a philosophy that runs in cybersecurity circles where it's in the smaller agencies or smaller groups, it's less about creating a dedicated independent cybersecurity function in-house, and it's more about training your IT staff to be able to handle that function as part of their everyday job duties. We definitely have folks which are developing what I would call some specialized expertise in that area. So I look to them for certain specific things. With that said, we're a small agency. They tend to be well-developed general purpose staff. So the long way of answering your question is right now, I haven't really taken what I would call dramatic budget increase proposals to Carl, the ELT, or the board. With that said, I do admit there probably are things probably in the next year or two, especially one thing that we probably need to get on the board is an independent third-party audit of systems. There will almost certainly be some expense associated with that.
Any other questions from the directors? Yes, Joe.
I have a question. It's similar to our phones. You use it in a couple of years and it's old already.
Yes.
And same thing with our desk computers or your work computers. Are they changed out? Is there a system where they're changed out periodically in regards to updating?
Yes, actually, not directly cybersecurity related, but I think one of the things I implemented when I came on board as Chief Information Officer here was it was actually a big goal to get what I would call a life cycle plan for our systems. We are at this point fully refreshed on what I would call staff systems internally. So pretty much all the MST staff at this point probably don't have, they're generally using something like this or a desktop computer. In most cases, it's not more than 2 years old at this point. Starting next year, we're probably going to be doing a 3-year refresh cycle. So we will be taking those systems as they approach 3 years. We'll begin to do probably about a third of the systems annually. So I actually have a predictable budget in that area. But as you pointed out, it's keeping everything up to date and less vulnerable.
Thank you.
I just say we include that in your capital budget that your board approves each May. So we have a line item for IT.
Great. Any other questions?
Just a comment, we just want, I want to emphasize the importance of the training. At the county of Monterey, we have over 5,000 employees.
Yes.
And new employees is always constant, so the training is constant. So we have a great IT team now, we didn't always have a good team. But they do send out emails sometimes to practice, and then they send follow-up emails, how to identify and recognize when they're phishing scams.
Yep.
Because we do get those frequently at the county. So I just want to emphasize how important that is.
It is a
Train employees to look out and not click on things that they don't need to.
Yeah, it is a critical function of what I would call the cybersecurity ecosystem. And without polling the staff here internally or looking at the group that's sitting behind me right now, I think they probably would admit that the level of aggressiveness that we've had in that area in the last 6 months has ratcheted up notably.
We've actually have a internal policy practice that if you do not participate in the training programs that are sent to you, we keep track of whether it's 4 minutes a month, I think.
Yeah, about
4 minutes a month.
Good.
If you're not participating, it does become known to your management and supervisor, and ultimately you could lose your access to a portable. So we do have that built into our policy. We don't play around.
No. And to add to that, they're generally, your staff does, which is good practice. I can assure you that if we have somebody who fails a simulation, there is a conversation that occurs between IT and that individual. So there is a learning moment that happens as a result.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Director
No,
LeBar?
no, I appreciate the presentation. That was really well, and I hope you did receive the gift cards. You asked for.
From Google.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. Anybody else have any questions? I would like to open this up to the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to discuss this matter? I have a question for Michael. I don't see anyone in the boardroom. I don't see anyone. All right. Thank you so much for the information. It's very helpful.
It's a pleasure.
Your first
Parts and information items. Item number 7.1, General Manager CEO report.
Yes, you'll see in the monthly report, 2 months, July and August. As I mentioned to the Board Operations Committee meeting this morning, we continue to experience a very healthy and robust growth in ridership. 46% bus network. The new fare system, the $2 for 2 hours, and the ability to use contactless tapping. We've seen a tripling of the people using contactless tapping and unique users using that. And 37% of those folks that are tapping with their credit card are achieving some type of fare cap. So they're not paying more than the 2 hours or the daily or the weekly or the monthly. So it's working and it's growing. Specifically to the question that was raised by Director Barrera, one of the challenges that we're having with this healthy growth, I guess it's a good problem to have, but especially on the line 23, we think it's due to a 30% plus increase in enrollments at Hartnell and CSUMB, combined with the harvest community coming in over the summertime and school starting late August, early September. We have seen standing room only, first trip of the day out of King City, but definitely throughout the day coming north out of Greenfield, standing room only on the line 23, and then early in the afternoons heading south out of Salinas, standing room only. And we've actually, out of safety concerns because of the condition of Highway 101, particularly between Salinas and Chular, where you have open access roads with semis and agricultural equipment crossing the road, creating sudden braking events, not just with cars, but with our buses, these on the buses. And we've put into practice putting in extra buses and staging them in such a way that we know where the overloads are occurring at what time of day over the weekends, and we're having left behind. I guess I was reported on this weekend. We had, 4 instances of extra buses needed heading north out of Greenfield towards Salinas over the weekend. So we're letting our passengers know, and we realize that it's inconvenient, but their safety is more important to us at this point, because we don't want to have a sudden braking incident and sending someone, hurtling through the bus because they're not going to be able to hold on to the stanchion. And so in the meantime, we will then work into regular schedules as with our staffing and our equipment. We think we're going to monitor this after the agricultural community leaves the area late November. We'll see if the overcrowding continue forward again come April timeframe when folks come back from Yuma, March. And then the next step after that, we're going to start looking at even larger vehicles. And we've had some internal discussions about, do we go with the 60-foot long vehicles that bend down the middle, but we also know what a challenge it is to get curb space for bus stops in our community. They say in your development meetings go high. So we may go double deckers. We're going to be that's being used, and we'll be coming back to your board longer term as we investigate those options. So
just like London, huh?
Maybe, or just like Pomona. Yeah. They're using double tickets. Every London, Pomona has. So we'll see. More to come. No immediate decisions now, except that we've identified the problem, we're addressing the problem, and we're handling it with more buses and service. More decisions to come down the road. But again, a good problem to have. Yeah. Ultimately.
For Carl, it's time. No? All right. Has everybody looked at the reports and information items? 7.1 through 7.5. And then I don't know if there's anyone that has any questions on that. Can move on to number 8, which is board reports, comments, and referrals. Enjoyed reading Tony's report. I like it. Nice and short to the point. I know. Any other question? Anybody have anything for comments or announcements? Referral? Yes.
Number 8.2.
8.2,
Okay.
board member and comments. And
No, it'll be an event, very, very well attended. I want to extend my appreciation to MST for being there. I always make it a practice to go and say hi to the people that are doing the booths, but they were so thank you again.
Did we have the Wheel of Fortune or whatever?
probably you
did. Get a
did.
hat, a roll hat or something like that, or pen.
So thank you for being there and supporting our local communities and getting that information out to them.
We have a scholar in our midst, the 2024 American Public Transportation Overmeyer.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry, you don't have a white check for you, but it was great to see her being honored with the Frank. Can you give me the last name, please? Latansky Scholarship, which was fantastic.
Pictures right up there in the back of the room.
And you know what, Mr. Sador? This time around, I hung around with some of your staff. Awesome people. But seriously, I mean, they took good care of us. I really appreciate that. And looking forward to the next little trip. So, and talking about MS, big part with our fire senior center. There's some great staff, and also at Ciclovia. MST has always been a good participant. Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know, when Frank passed in 2005, about raised funds and donated those funds through a number of fundraiser, golf tournaments, other events, fundraising activities. And we donated the funds to the American Public Transportation Foundation, who's established a scholarship in Frank's name that goes to small urban rural transit operators only to attend a management leadership course that he used to teach. And actually his last working duty at MST was teaching that class before he fell ill and could not come back. So we have funded over 20 scholarships in that time to small operators from all over the country and small and rural urban communities. And this year, our own agency was able to get the benefit of that. So just the legacy continues.
Yes, thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. Congratulations, Michelle. Okay, anybody else have anything? Attachment July and August monthly report is going to be viewed online. We are members of the public may address the board on any matter related to closed session. There's a time limit of not more than 3 minutes for each speaker. The board will not take action or respond immediately to any public comments presented, but may choose to follow up at a later time individually through staff. Yes.
We had a question here with regard to the next scheduled meeting date.
Yes.
It was brought up, and that's after the closed session. There's a concern
Right.
that we might lose some folks during closed session. And the attorney question came up on the agenda. Is the next scheduled meeting date is November 4th. It was moved up from November 11th due to conflict with the Federal Veterans Day holiday, which we normally do. But every 4 years, we sometimes have this issue that November 4th is the day before Election Day. And I know some of you are busy with campaigns and other activities. And so you need to let us know if November 4th not going to work. We need to work on a different day. November 11th is out, November 4th is out, so it's somewhere in between there. I don't think we want to wait all the way till the 18th for a meeting. So the question is, there has been a question posed. Get the board's direction. Do we stick with the 4th or some other and miss some members? Or do we try to move the date? Any thoughts?
Carl, did you do a polling of how
We
many
can-
meetings you have a quorum?
We
So
can
you have
we
a
can do
quorum.
that. We can do
That's
that.
what I was going to suggest. Yeah.
We can ask the clerk to send out a poll, and then we'll work with the chair.
Yeah, can we do it now?
We can do a straw poll now. Can we get some straws? Okay.
Can I take a vote on
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
All right, okay. Okay, for those of you that do not have a conflict with November 4th, please say aye or hold your arms up. Our hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have a quorum.
Okay.
So I say we stick with November the
Okay.
4th.
MST having burritos that day?
It's the day we celebrate.
It's the day before Election Day.
That's right.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Because we'll all have heartburn one way or the other.
Yeah.
The day after.
Yeah, really. Yeah, either way, right? Okay, so we will maintain the date of November 4th for our next meeting, but.
Okay.
Now,
So we had a question open for closed session. I'm sorry I interrupted.
That's
I
all right.
think we need to go out to the public
Mhm.
before.
I was just getting ready to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So we're getting ready to go into closed session. We have 2 items. 10-1 is review general manager. 10-2 is conference with legal counsel. Do you want me to read both of them? Is it necessary? Okay, so I'd like to open up public comment for the closed session items. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on either one of these 2 items? Don't see anyone up here. Is there anyone in the conference room? Nope, I think we can close session or close public comment. Thank you. So everyone, please move in.
And I just.
Oh, Michael,
Is it?
I need to ask you a question.
Gotta bring my sweater. No, I'm comfortable. Be a gentleman. No.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be 2 seconds.
Okay. Pages, while I was looking, didn't realize I'm going to change this, and I got myself all this combined. So it wasn't you, it was me. Okay.
We're not. They have one more item.
Yeah, but that's gonna be short. It's
First, one item.